Jexsaida, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here because you are like one of the OGs. I always see you in the comments. I always see you in the stories, and your support has been endless from the beginning. So I'm really excited to have you here because the work that you're doing is so needed for our community. You are talking to women, Latinas, mothers who have at some point in the game lost their way, lost their whole reason why they're out here on planet Earth. And I promise you, it's not to be a wife, a mother, or none of that other shit, y'all. You're here to be a human. And so I love the fact that you're helping us reconnect with that. So welcome to Yo Quiero Dinero.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Such like a huge moment when Leanne reached out to me. I was like, what? I need a minute to like cry and I'll get back to you. She's like, I'll be here when you're ready. I'm like, okay.
I love that. You know, I love introducing folks to people in our community who are doing the good work, because I think when we think of people in the personal development space, you think of people like Tony Robbins or like rich white women. And it's like, y'all, there's a lot of people doing this incredible, important work that comes straight from our communities, and you are no exception. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for folks who are meeting you for the first time.
My name is Jexsaida, and I'm on the online space and typically helping moms. I would say that's like my macro niche. And then obviously women come into my space as well. But it was really about just that. Like, can we reclaim our womanhood within our motherhood? Because I do believe that in the way that we have been brought up, we just believe that once you become a mom, that's all that you are meant to be. And also you're to dedicate yourself to your career. It's like those two things and nothing else. And then you wonder why one day you kind of look up and you're like, what the fuck is life anyways? And so that was a lot about me. I feel like I was in postpartum depression for about 10 years, even when I had the opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom when my husband and I had our last two babies, because I have 3 kids. I couldn't even be a stay-at-home mom because I was constantly in my head about how my career and like, am I bringing any money in, and just really just fucking lost. And so when I finally was able to get back into career, right now, I feel like I'm trying to catch up. I need to catch up and I need to make all the moves. And so I remember coming to a point where I had all the things. We had bought a house. I had bought a car off the lot. I was married to an amazing man. My kids are healthy. And I'm like, why do I still feel like I'm missing something? Like, what is actually missing? And so it was in that moment that I was like, hold on, this is not what life is supposed to be, I'm pretty sure. And at the time, I was working in home care and I was climbing the ladder so fast, like getting promoted and raises and like all these things. And I had a boss at the time and she used to talk about getting up early. And I'm like, of course, because this bitch ain't got kids, you could do whatever you want with your life. But she planted a seed. She planted a seed about podcasts and books and having a routine. And I started listening to podcasts, but I realized that I was counting myself out of it. So for instance, Mel Robbins was like a game changer for me, the 5-second rule. And I was like, oh, they get to do that, right? But I don't know that I have a chance. And so finally I was like, all right, I'm going to give this shit a try. And I started to get up at the crack of fucking dawn because I knew that that was the only time that I had. And so I started setting my alarm for 4:00 in the morning. And I started getting up and it changed my fucking life. I was like, holy shit. I wish someone would have told me, like, just get up before the kids, because now I'm getting up with the kids and I'm rushing and I'm trying to get them ready and I'm trying to get myself ready and we're running late and I'm pissed off at them, but it isn't their fault. So it was just a really aha moment. And I always say that in me waking up and showing up to my mat every single day is where I got to build myself up. That's where I got to build my like self-trust and my confidence and my value, and like just have such aha moments and change the way in which I was parenting and change the way in which I was showing up. And so that was a quick little rundown, but that's how I came to like, okay, wait a minute, there's something else here in life. And that's also what started my business, was me waking up at the crack of dawn and people being like, what are you doing? Like, what's happening for you?
Well, I love that setup because it really paints a picture of what I think is a very atypical viewpoint of someone who is Latina, who is a mother. Because I know for damn sure, I didn't see my mom fucking doing self-care. I didn't see her doing no personal development. I'm like, what the fuck is that? You know, when she sees me in my life, and I know she means this like with the best intentions, but it's very much sometimes like, oh, good for you. Like that you could do that, right? Or like, must be nice that you have like the money or the time or the freedom and blah, blah. And I'm like, but that's intentional. Like that shit didn't just happen. Like we have to create environments where we are out of fucking survival mode. And many times we don't even know how to do that because we did not see that modeled in our parents. So what did motherhood look like for you watching your mom? What do you remember about that time?
Yeah. Same. I would say that my mom was absolutely miserable, depressed, and I took on a lot of that with me being a mom. I had to do all of this while having my kids already. But I didn't see my mom. Yeah, we got glimpses of her being happy. And I could remember, her hanging out with her sisters from another woman. Her dad had children with another woman, and she was more of herself. But I remember us criticizing her as well. Like, oh, you're so different when you're around them. But every time that she tried to do something for herself, we were the ones that criticized her, or my dad, like, what are you doing that for anyways? And so every time she tried to go for her dreams, it was very much shut down for her because my dad was like, oh, that's a waste of time. Why are you going to go to school for that? And so we got glimpses of her being happy, but a lot of it was her just being resentful and angry and annoyed and pissed off and just completely and emotionally turned off. Like, we just didn't get any type of anything. Every now and again, maybe, but but yeah, that was her. And I brought that into my own parenting, with the way that I was parenting, and I was annoyed. And I also think that we have this connotation that, like, once you become a mom, it's your purpose. And when you don't feel like it's your purpose, now you feel like shit. It's like, no, it wasn't meant to be your purpose. You're just parenting. And for some women, maybe it is like, oh my God, I was meant to, like, I was born to do this. And for other people, it's like, I wasn't. But something that I remember, because I just did not have patience for my kids, but this was another really big aha moment for me, was that I used to walk around the house always saying, like, I don't have patience for this shit. I do not. And one day I found myself saying that, but I stopped myself in the middle of the sentence and I was like, wait a minute. My mom used to walk around saying that. She used to say, ay, yo no tengo paciencia para esta mierda, like, all the time. And it was in that moment that I was like, oh shit. Yeah. Wait,
here's the generational trauma at work. Yay.
Yes.
That shit is so real. But it's funny because what you say about, like, people making motherhood like their whole fucking personality, when I challenge women to, like, not do that on social media, I get fucking close to death threat type fucking comments on social media where it's just like, how dare you? Like, we are mothers above all else. And it is an honor for me to dedicate my entire existence to my kids. And it's clear that you don't care about your child because you have the capacity to even consider, like, doing anything else. And I'm just like, bruh, like, why are moms the most fucking toxic people to other moms? Okay. There is not a more bitter, resentful, fucking rude person that I've met than another mother. Like, we are so condescending to each other sometimes and just, like, so fucking judgmental because everybody seems to think like they have their shit figured out. And, like, if you're not doing it the way they're doing it, that somehow you're fucking wrong. And I invite y'all to, like, stop that shit. That shit is so toxic. We need more representation of, like, what a well-rounded woman who also happens to be a mother looks like. Because from what I see out here, especially on the social media landscape, there's a lot of fucking miserable moms out here, like, point blank.
I agree. I agree 1000%. I think I've now surrounded myself with women that do prioritize themselves, hence the way that I put myself out there. But I do think it took a long time because everyone's busy criticizing the other person when not doing it the way that you're doing it. Or, yeah, like, what do you mean put myself first? Like, the kids come first. I'm like, no, that's why you hate life.
Yeah. Right. You literally saying no to yourself is the reason why your shit doesn't change. Your kids are not going to give you permission to fucking change your life. You got to make that space. And so tell me how that started for you. Like, because obviously when you're making these decisions to expand the capacity that you have to support and pour into yourself, that's a conversation that probably needs to happen with, a partner, with your kids, with your family, the people who are used to just having you at their fucking beck and call whenever.
Mm-hmm. So because I was getting up at the crack of dawn, I don't think that it was necessarily impacting life, right? Because I was getting up and getting myself situated. However, when I was like, wait, I want to, like, try workout classes and new things that maybe I just wanted to do and hang out with people because, we don't hang out with people. We're just home with the kids. I don't believe that I went about it maybe in the best way because I was very much like, I'm going to do this whether you like it or not. I'm going to go do me. I'm not doing anything wrong. And so it did cause some friction because now I'm discovering me a little bit more and not really communicating this with my partner. And he's like, what is actually happening? Like, why do you want to do all of these new things? And you're dressing different. And you're like, I don't really know what's happening. Where do I fit in this? And so I do think that eventually, because then he started getting up early, right? So it started to just be a thing that we started to do. And I think he went to like a workout class one time, but he's not his thing. But I did think that it caused some friction because as I was doing work and changing, I was no longer just going to work and coming home and being mom and wife. It was like, oh, she has other things going on. It did create somewhat of a friction. However, in our marriage, just love always wins. And my husband has always been supportive. And when I am feeling my best, he knows it. And when I'm not feeling my best, he knows it. So his support has always been there. It's just definitely has caused some friction. And I also believe that that's what gets in the way. I think that once this starts to cause some friction for some moms, they're like, whoa, people are not liking me or loving me right now. And maybe I shouldn't be doing this, because I remember that thought. I remember having the thought with like, is this going to break my marriage? Like, is this going to be the thing? And almost feeling like I had to take a step back and like, maybe I need to put myself on pause. And no, there was no reason for me to put myself in pause. So I had to constantly remind myself of like, I'm not doing anything wrong, but pouring into myself and learning to take care of myself in a way that no one taught me. And it's changing the relationships that I have with my children. It's changing the relationship that I have with myself. It's changing the relationship that I have with my marriage. And sometimes it may not feel or look in the way that we want it to be, but when we push through, it works out if you're willing to do that. So
that's real. You know, I think that reaction of just like, maybe I should just put myself on the back burner again, I think it's a very normal reaction when you start getting maybe some pushback from either the kids. It's like, Mom, why do you have to go? Like, you just got here, blah, blah, blah. And that mom guilt is real. Like, it is something that so many of us have to combat with, because there is this feeling that you're somehow selfish by needing time for yourself. You're like somehow not a good mom because you don't want to be on fucking call 24/7. So what do you say to women who the mom guilt is literally the thing that they're like, this shit sounds great, right? I would love to have fucking free time to like, you know, color or like go plant a garden or do some fucking yoga, but I feel so shitty about like saying no to my family.
I always bring it back to, because what happens is, right, as soon as we start pouring into ourselves and start having some patience for our kids and just showing up different, we're like, wow, this actually changes the way in which I show up. And so I actually say the mom guilt should stem from you not taking time out for yourself. Like, how are you actually being the best you that you can be when you're not prioritizing yourself? And what is the example that you're setting? Because we're setting examples, right? We didn't see anyone working on themselves, working out, eating different. And so we started to live life in that way. And so what example are we setting for the kids? How are we actually showing up to be our best? And maybe the mom guilt gets to be shifted and like, actually, no, I need to go do this thing so that I can show up. And there's no reason to have mom guilt. And I understand that the mom guilt sits there, right? Sometimes for me in certain areas, but because I've worked on this so long, I'm like, yeah, I'll see you guys later. And that's just that. However, when I've traveled alone, like that has been a really big thing with like, oh, I'm traveling without the kids. Like, I kind of feel bad, right? They should be coming or like, but this is where we get to break the shit that we have believed to be true for so long. If you're a married woman and if you're a mom, why are you traveling alone? Why are you doing this? Like all of this bullshit that we just get to create a life in the way that we want to. And when we don't, that's exactly what keeps us stuck in the mom guilt, in the, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, I shouldn't be doing that. So that's how I reframe the mom guilt. And about 100% of the time, I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, women are like, oh, I never even thought about it that way. I'm like, yeah, when I don't show up for myself, guess what? I'm short as hell. My kids are getting on my last fucking nerve. I'm like, please shut up and leave me alone. When I pour into myself, my patience lasts a little past 7:30 p.m.
It makes sense. You know, you are trying to pour from an empty cup when you are not doing the basic bare minimum to like make sure that you're good. And so you actually are doing your family a disservice by not taking the time to make sure that you're showing up in the best version of yourself. It's funny because I just took my first business trip since baby a couple weeks ago and I was freaking the fuck out. You know, it's like, oh my God, I'm leaving. She's like 3 months, blah, blah. And for the first, I want to say maybe like 4 hours that I was out of the house. I'm like still at the airport. I'm like texting my fiance. I'm like, here's a whole checklist of like things to do, blah, 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 as if he hasn't literally been there like every day since she was born. And I realized that like I was literally causing my own anxiety by just wanting to be in control all the fucking time. And it wasn't until talking to another mom entrepreneur who's like, girl, he needs to have his relationship with her. And you're going to have your relationship with her. And he's going to parent her how he's going to parent her. And you're going to parent her how you're going to parent her. And that's going to be probably fucking different. But if you don't let that happen, you're doing both of them a disservice. And it was at that point that I was like, you know what? I'm done texting. I am going to enjoy the trip. I'm not going to think about anything. If he needs me, he knows where to find me. And it was great. He even said, like, when I get back, He's like, I'm so glad you left. Like, I'm so glad that you left. And I had to just figure it out. And he said, I feel like I have a deeper relationship with her now because it was just the two of us and we had to figure our shit out. And you were not there to like save the fucking day, as so many of us want to do as moms. And so for anybody who's like listening to that story and is triggered, like, you're probably a control freak. And this is one of the reasons why you're fucking exhausted and burnt out and miserable, because you can't even like let anybody help you. I'm curious for you. Yeah. Are you a recovering, I don't ask for help person like myself? What does that look like for you?
Yes and no. I think I have done really good with my husband just like, figuring it out. Like since they were babies. And he's always just been such an active participant in the kids. And when they were born, I feel like actually now that they're older, it's probably where we could disagree more with like disciplining wise. So actually in the last like month or so, I've realized that I've actually asked him like, hey, the kids want to do this, and letting him have the say. And like Dad said no, or go ask Dad. Because I think sometimes we do want shit to be our way. And I think the part where I have the biggest part to ask for help is probably emotionally. That's where I have had to work on my own shit. But in the house, like if you want to go clean the bathroom your way, please. And I hear this all the time too. Like I've done speaking engagements where the women are like, well, my husband, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, but is the result going to be the same? No, but it's not going to be the way that I want it. I'm like, okay, well, the more that you continue to perpetuate your own bullshit about how it's not going to be done in the way that you want it to, well, you're going to continue to have to do shit yourself.
It's facts, y'all. Like at some point, we have to just be okay with shit getting done, not necessarily getting done the way that we want it to get done. I want to dive into what you mentioned around like emotional support. Obviously, that's an area that I think a lot of first gen kids have no idea like how to get emotional support, because we didn't necessarily see that modeled either. It was kind of like there's two emotions in the household where they're happy or pissed off. There's no like crying. There's no like, let's talk about our feelings. It's so funny. One of the first dates that we went on, my fiance said, like, we had family meetings growing up. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Family meetings? And he's half white. So obviously this was like the white side of the family. I was doing this shit. And I was just like, well, that sounds fucking lovely. That sounds like, Little House on the Prairie. Amazing. But when I think about it now, it's like, I actually want that modeled in my house. Like I want to create an environment where it's okay to talk about your emotions and it's okay to ask for support because you're upset or depressed or whatever it is. So how has that journey evolved for you? Because I know in your intro, you mentioned battling with postpartum depression for like a long period of time after having your kids.
Yes. So my husband and I met, this is going to bring you along on a journey, but my husband and I met in the September of 2011, and we had our first baby September of 2012.
Damn. Okay.
And then we had our second baby September of 2013.
Jesus Christ. Okay. So you spent like 2 years pregnant, basically.
Yes. And my youngest had just turned 3, maybe. So I was in the thick of it. And I say that part because we didn't even give ourselves the opportunity to create like a friendship and any form of anything other than like we fell in love. And I knew he was my husband from the moment that I saw him, and we had babies. And then I was like, okay, well, what the fuck? And then he's like, hey, you could stay home with the kids. And here I am depressed about him trying to take care of me and me not allowing myself to be taken care of for however many years. And so here we are 10 or so years later, honestly, where then I'm kind of picking myself up and getting myself together. And I'm starting to implement some things for myself. And so when I'm ready to lose my shit with the kids, he's like, hey, do you need a timeout? And so these things started to happen really naturally with like, hey, I think I started saying like, I need a timeout. And so he started to pick up with like, I think she's about to lose her shit. Hey, do you need a timeout? Like I do. And then me doing the same thing for him. And I remember going through like a really hard time with my oldest and support, and we just went through crazy court battle with his father, and me like realizing that I could easily fall into depression, but not really allowing myself, but also allowing myself to feel. But he didn't know what to do with me. With like, hey, I think for him, it was like, you're being so hard on yourself. And I'm like, I just need to just feel what's happening. I'm going to probably lay in bed and cry for a little bit. And then I'm going to get myself up, and then I'm going to cry a little bit. And so having him support me in whatever way I could take in that moment when life just felt like, holy shit, I don't know what's happening. Here I am. My son is, turning 13, 14 at the time, and I'm going through court battles, and I feel like I'm leaving an abusive relationship that I left X amount of years ago. And like everything's just playing out again. So it has been a very slow and steady process, and us being really good with picking up on one another's emotions or feelings. We're like, hey, are you good? What's happening? The thing that's coming to mind is like, he's like, I think I need to feed you. You're getting a little hangry. So that's another thing for him with like, I think you need food in your life. I'm like, great, you could feed me. And even the biggest part that I want to mention that I feel is probably most recent for me was I think I've had to go through this journey of even feeling worthy enough to be in this marriage because he has been so good to me, right? And so I think that I've gone through this thing of like, do I deserve this? Like, he's so patient and he's so loving and like, he's been so consistent. And I've gone through this roller coaster of just my postpartum depression and figuring myself out. And he's older than me, given. So I feel like he already had a really steady head on him with when he met me. He knew exactly what he wanted in life. Hence why I got pregnant like right away. So yeah, I think it's been a slow and steady process and learning to learn one another time and time again, because I think that we think things are always going to be the same. And it's like, no, I'm not the same person that he met freaking 13 years ago. You know, I'm a completely different person. And so, yeah, giving ourselves space and time, picking up on our cues and being able to ask for whatever it is that I need in the moment. Like maybe I just need a hug right now, or I just need space. So,
It sounds like it's practice, basically. It's practice, like asking for what you need and then even figuring out what you need. Because sometimes we don't even know that. And then it's just a matter of like, well, let's try different shit until we figure out what the thing is. So let's talk about your career, because you mentioned in the beginning too that you were offered the opportunity by your husband to be a stay-at-home mom. You've had sort of like an identity crisis with that. And then you've evolved now. Now you're a business owner. Now you're, showing your kids that like you actually don't have to give up your career to be a mom. Which I think there's a lot of people who criticize or like judge working mothers because they don't necessarily want to be stay-at-home moms. They don't want that to be their entire identity. So how has that sort of trajectory evolved for you?
So once I went back into career,
how old were your kids?
Later, they were, when I went back to work, you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, they were like 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 9, something along those lines. Because my little ones were still in pre-K. So yeah, maybe they were like 4 and 5 when I started going back part-time.
Okay.
Started going back part-time and took on some jobs here and there. My sister had decided she was going to go back to work because she had a bookkeeping business. And so she gave me some of her clients that she used to drive to. So I started doing that here and there, part-time things. And then eventually I went back in full-time. Been trying to find my way. I was like, I think I want to go back to like home care, healthcare. And so I did that and I started working for like terrible people. This lady was a witch. And one thing about me is, the Latinas in us, we got a mouth on us. But I was like, I am not. This lady was a manipulator. I just couldn't believe the shit she was doing. And so when I left, I sent an email to like everyone, the workers, the office staff, everyone. So obviously they had their lawyers call me with like, make sure that is the last email you send, whatever. Went into home care and basically I was given an office with like, here you go, figure it out. And so I fucking killed it. And I just want to say this part because for anyone who is in a career and is fucking killing it and doesn't actually know percentages and like the money they're bringing in, I wish that I would have asked specifically, like, how much money have I made you guys in the last 6 months? Because we were growing so fucking fast just by word of mouth. They didn't have to invest any money in marketing for us. We were just fucking killing it. And it's because we were serving the Latino community. We were the only office in the city that all of us spoke Spanish. And we were also willing to help them outside of just like, hey, can you pick up a shift? And so we started growing so fast. In like 8 months, I took on another office but that was another thing. They also were like fucking around with like, maybe we put you in this position. Actually, I don't know about that position. Maybe we put you in like this other position. But I was working around the clock. Yeah, it was a 9 to 5, but I was salary and I used to work till 3 o'clock in the morning, finishing fucking payroll. I used to be on the sidelines at a soccer tournament for my son, working on payroll. That shit was toxic as hell. And that was another thing. My husband used to be like, hello. And I used to be like, no, like you had your turn to get into your career. Now it's my turn. And looking back, I'm like, the nerve of me. But, I was here trying to work on my career. And so, yeah, it was within that career that then I started working on myself. But then they started doing shady shit and telling my team like, hey, don't call Jex if you need something. Don't call her for this. But they were going to call me because they knew better. Like, yo, why are they trying to do shit behind your back? And I'm like, the fucking nerve as I bust my ass and work 24 fucking 7. Even when I would try to like reprimand someone because they were doing shady, onboarding people inappropriately. And I used to call them on their shit. And they're like, hey, they said that you were, your emails are sounding a little whatever. And I'm like, they're going to cost us a fucking bill if state walks in here, only to then basically take the office away from me and like, hey, I think it's better for someone else to manage. Like, they just crazy. When I look back, I'm like, the fucking nerve. Anyways, only for that person to be let go for the same reasons that I was saying, that was fucking running them up. But yeah, killing it in that career. And then COVID happened. And so now I was home. And I think I had already started to stumble. Okay, while I was in that career, they sent me to a training and there were 2 coaches in there. And I was like, what the fuck are coaches? And so I got really intrigued. I hired one of the career coaches and I kept asking her, like, how did you become a career coach? And she would not fucking tell me. She was just like, what are your goals? Yeah, she was just like, what are your goals and what do you want, basically? And I'm like, okay. So I started searching this shit. And obviously I had already started working on myself and listening to podcasts and like listening to books. And I was like, okay. And just started dropping ridiculous amounts of money on fucking certifications, on coaches. Don't advise, not in the way that I did it. And I didn't set myself up to leave my job. Well, okay, let me say this, right? When I noticed that they were doing shady shit, I started doing shady shit too. I was like, you know what? I'm going to log in every day. I'm going to check on my people and I'm going to close my laptop right the fuck back up. We'll see what happens. And they called me one day and they're like, hey, we don't see that you're active. Can you tell us what's happening? And I'm like, actually, can you tell me what's happening? Because clearly you guys are calling my staff like, hey, don't call Jex. Hey, don't do this. Hey, but no one's keeping me in the loop. And so they were like, so at this point, they're like, how do we get, the old Jex back? How do we get her back in working the way that she was? And on top of that, we want to give you like 7 to 9 offices and we need you to be on the road all the time. And I was like, well, that's not possible. Yeah, for no extra money.
Of course.
No extra money, because that's how it works. And so I was like, that's not going to work. COVID is like, we're in the middle of COVID. If my kid sneezes, they're sending all of them home. And I had already decided I'm going to do online school for the kids. At that point, they're not in online school anymore. But I do want to say this, that I had already set the intention. I was like, I'm going to be let go with fucking pay. I don't know how, but I'm going to try this shit. And so they basically kept offering me things. And I shouldn't say that on here. But anyways, I feel like I was declining without saying no.
Yeah.
And so at the very end, they were like, you know what? I think that the best thing for us to do is we part ways because we understand your kids and COVID and blah, 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 and apply for unemployment. We're not going to deny you. And I was like, perfect. I went upstairs in the living room that day dancing around. My husband was like, what happened? I was let go with pay. He's like, what? Why are you so excited? I'm like, man, I've been waiting for this shit. But I want to say this, right? My sister was an entrepreneur, but she went back into the workforce, right? Because for her, working is just where she wants to be. But I didn't see entrepreneurs growing up. And so this entrepreneurship journey has been really hard for me to understand that I don't have, like right now, especially, I feel like I'm just not taking a step back, but I'm like, I don't have to feel like I have to have a plan B. Versus this shit just gets to fucking work out because I want it to work out. I don't have to continue to feel like I have to be accessible. I don't have to feel like I've just had to work through so much money shit to know that I get to make this shit work. I don't have to always have a part-time job. I don't always have to figure out another way. Like, this is what gets to happen and this is what gets to work. And this shit could be fucking hard when you haven't seen somebody else do shit, right? I have you to look to. I have Erica Kramer. Like, I have to look to people around me to be like, oh, it is possible in the same way that it's been possible for them. And I am doing this shit while I have 3 kids. So sometimes it's like, well, does this making sense? Like my kids' medical bills and fucking sports and food and this and that. And so I constantly have to bring myself back with like, listen, this could work out. You just get to keep pushing. You just get to believe that it's going to happen for you. And I feel like right now in this season, I'm like, yeah, let me get out of feeling. And I feel like Kat just said this about feeling like I have to make things accessible, feeling like I have to reach the people that I wanted to reach versus like, no, the fucking woman that's waiting for me to like speak up and talk is out there. And I just get to show up and continue to share my message and my story and know that it's going to work out because it gets to work for me in the way that it's worked for many others. So
I love that energy. And, I feel like I study entrepreneurs at this point because I'm just literally like stalking people on social media and just like watching the glow ups and stuff. And I noticed when you started shifting into, I'm taking this shit seriously. And like, I fucking believe in the work that I'm doing. And when you are in this world long enough, I feel like I've reached the point where I would be confident, like being like a Shark Tank shark, where like I know how to pick the fucking unicorns just because I'm exposed to this so much. And I've watched the people like that stand out in my mind, and they all have this characteristic of there's a switch that happens. It's like, oh, that person actually fucking believes in themselves. That person actually fucking takes themselves seriously. That person is showing up as the entrepreneur that they already believe that they are, even if they don't necessarily have like the numbers or the sales or whatever to like support that shit. And that is something that I don't think enough people talk about. There's all this like focus on just replicate the strategy or write more emails or blah, blah. No, there's like a fucking shift that happens when you look at successful entrepreneurs. It is literally, I'm going to make this shit happen. Like there is no plan B, like you said. And it's been really cool watching you. Just know that it's noticed. You know, it's not something that you may notice because, you know, when you're in the fucking grind every day, you're in the sludge, you're just like, why is this shit not happening as fast as I want to? But I notice that shift, and I encourage you to like keep following that light, because it's real. And I think that is what starts to initially attract people to you, especially in this personal development, self-coaching industry. There is something aspirational that attracts people to coaches. It's like, oh, wow, they've overcome this, or they've achieved this, or they have this same shared experience, or they have something that relates to them. And that's why people connect with us. And I think the most successful people in this world are the ones that get real about the story, that don't sugarcoat how fucking hard it was to get to where you are, and that give people like a real possibility of like, there is another option here. And you live by example, you lead by example. I'm curious for you, as someone who works with a myriad of women who are challenging what it means to be a woman, to be a mother, who are ready to like break out. What is maybe the most common like roadblock or mental block that you encounter as a coach as to like why people get stuck?
I think it is being stuck in the identity of just mom. Like, you know, who am I to think that I could do anything outside of being a mother and a wife? And why would I even think of a different possibility? Like the nerve of me. And I think it is getting stuck in like, who's going to give me permission? Looking around for someone for the husband or their mom or their aunts, the sister, to be like, hey, it's time for you to like start doing something for you. I think that is like the biggest roadblock. You know, I have a client right now that's like, I can't believe that I waited until I was 40 something to like realize that I get to put myself first.
Oh God. Yeah. I mean, it's like better late than never, honey.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think that is the identity crisis of like, I'm mom and I go to work and I provide for the family and like, none of this is for me. That's another thing. It's the craziest shit to see that we literally have removed ourselves from like, this is the home, this is life, this is the budget, this is like everything, but we're not in it. So even me sometimes saying, but like, hey, have you even put yourself as part of the budget that you keep talking about? Have you even put yourself in the plan that you keep talking about? And they're like, fuck, I actually, no, I don't. Like, oh, okay, well, maybe you might want to do that. Like, yeah, us just stuck in the identity, stuck in the identity and waiting for somebody to give us permission.
I think a lot of people also have like this very surface level artificial idea of like what self-care looks like, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to go get my nails done, or I'm going to go to the salon, or like whatever the fuck. I'm going to go to brunch. And I think that's, if I could think about like anything that was self-care to my mom, like that's what it was, right? And like, me voy a hacer el pelo, or, you know, we're going to go get a fucking pedicure. And so I think there's just like a reshaping, or even just like an exposure that people need to have to like what actual self-care, personal development looks like for you. I want to know like what kind of coaches do you currently have now, or like what kind of support systems or personal development are like, this is non-negotiable. Like I need this shit, and we're going to find the budget. We're going to find the time. What does that look like for you?
So I 99.9% of the time always have a coach. I have two coaches right now. One is a spiritual business coach, and that's Cosmic Christine Gutierrez. And she wrote I Am Diosa book, her. And my other one is a subconscious mind coach. I've coached with her before, and I got a certification from her, and I went back to her, and she's literally just like a ball of love. I don't know, but the way that she's able to shift my perspectives in life, in business, because that's something that she teaches as well inside of there. So I'm doing like the coaching part of it, but also the certification part all over again. But perfect example, two things. One, I'm going to say about Christine. She not too long ago told me, because I teach women self-love and self-care, go fucking take care of yourself. And no, I don't mean go get your hair done. Go get your hair done too. But how about you start sitting with the shit that you haven't been wanting to sit with? Like, there's so much magic in getting to the other side of just the shit that we've been carrying, the shame that we carry as women, like after having kids. And yeah, I have such a huge story to share about that. You know, I think we also start just shaming ourselves and guilting ourselves, and just so much shit that gets to happen with what gets to happen when you move your body and start taking care of yourself in your temple. And the lashes and the hair and the nails is extra. That's like the whipped cream on top of the cherry. But what really gets to happen is like, you get to just sit in, so sitting in silence. Let me tell you, I give this to clients, sit your ass down and put a timer for 10 minutes. They're like, what? Absolutely not. And they're like, I don't even know what to do with myself. I'm like, who said you have to do anything with yourself? You know, it's like, oh, tú eres vaga. Oh, tú debes estar haciendo. Like, no, you just get to sit. So one thing that Christine told me not too long ago that was the fucking light bulb moment for me was around money and my business. She's like, you get to be nurtured financially.
Ooh.
And
yes.
I'm like,
hell yeah.
duh.
There's no other option.
Yeah. She's like, otherwise you're doing business and you're stressed out and overwhelmed. What's the point?
Yeah, you might as well get stressed out and overwhelmed by a fucking boss and take the bullshit
literally. Out of it. Yeah. And also how we sometimes create a business to stress us and overwhelm us. Like, hold on. So I really had to take a moment to sit back and be like, okay, is this really the way that I want to do business? I've sacrificed so many weekends for business, and I get it because I was putting events together and I was finding my way. But at the end of 2024 in October, I was fucking burned out. And I was like, okay, wait, this is not what I signed up for. Like, I'm creating the shit that I left. What's, you know? And so I always look at the framework that I show women like a pie, and I always felt like there was a piece of the pie missing. And I knew that it had to do with finances, but I'm like, I don't have my financial shit fully together. So how can I teach that? But it wasn't her saying that shit that I was like, yeah, I do get to fucking be nurtured financially. I no longer have to feel like I just need to make ends meet. No, I fucking get to make ends meet plus have extra and more. So that's one thing. But Sarah Zula, that's my subconscious mind coach. And she really helps people create freedom in their life, like get past the limiting beliefs and create a whole new reality. But something that she talks about business is, I know that we're always looking for strategy. She said, but the truth is that my strategy may not be your strategy. And sometimes we just get to go with our fucking intuition and do business in the way that we are being called to do business. And people, coaches, get to be a support system. And yes, there's going to be some strategies that work and feel good. And sometimes you're going to be called to do some shit that doesn't fucking make sense. And you just get to do it and make it work for you. So yeah, that's something that I always have. Is I feel like all my business coaches are life coaches too. So that's always something that I have in place. And then I have a very tight knit group of women that I have in my corner that we have met because of me doing women's circles and doing my programs that we have met locally. So
I love the intentional curation of your environment, whether it is virtual or in person. It is such an important part of making this transformation, y'all, because there's a level of accountability that comes when you actually like invest in yourself through a coach, or you join a program, or you literally become like the organizer of your whatever group that you're trying to create. It is much easier, I think, to stick to our goals when we work with other people, especially other people that like get why you are focusing on whatever aspect of your life. So I love that. And I think it's something that we have to get more comfortable with, because we are very fucking comfortable spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on degrees to like show the world, quote unquote, that we are successful and smart and bullshit like that. But what about investing in your fucking mental health? What about investing in like skills that maybe it's not even for the purpose of monetizing? Maybe it's just like some shit you want to learn. Maybe it's like some community that you want to be a part of. Like, it doesn't always have to be that you're investing in your education or your development for like a fucking certificate or to check some shit off of a list. It could just be that you like fucking pouring into yourself. I think we need to normalize that, especially as Latinas, because I know I didn't see any of that shit growing up.
I agree.
Yeah.
1000%.
So tell me how you work with your clients. And for folks who are asking themselves, like, do I need a self-love coach? Like, how do we know?
Yeah, typically it's the mom that is feeling at a crossroads and feeling like, why don't I feel fulfilled? Like I have all the things, but still I feel like something is missing. That's typically what I hear is like, I just feel at a crossroads. I don't even know what's wrong with me. Now we're feeling wrong because we don't feel happy and we have kids and a husband and a job and we're supposed to be happy with that. That's typically the crossroad, and the rock bottom moment is like, I don't know what life is about to be if I don't do something different. That's typically where women usually wait to reach out. Like, I think my life is falling apart, or like a midlife crisis. Oh shit, I don't really know what's happening. And I do one-on-one and group coaching. So I have a community, a membership community. And inside of there's different topics and workshops that happen on a monthly basis. I shouldn't say monthly. Right now we're in a weekly calls. So I'm taking women through a framework where we are basically rebuilding ourselves up. And we wake up together. I do a morning routine with every woman. So we wake up and meet on Zoom at 5:30 in the morning,
Holy
Monday through Friday. We meet up 5:30 a.m. Monday through Friday for about 40 minutes, I want to say. And we do a morning routine. And then every Wednesday, we have a mindset coaching call. And then depending on where we are in the process, there will be some cooking classes for meal prep. There's 2 different iterations of this. We go through a detox process at times, and that's really like, yes, it's food, but also what else is coming up for you? Like, can you listen to your body? Do you even know the cues of your body when you're hungry? Because you have decided to skip breakfast, lunch, and dinner and have a late dinner sometime because you're working. So it's very intentional when we go through the detox process. And the point of having the live cooking class is to hold you accountable, to come to the call. You get to learn how to cook healthy foods, and then you have your meals. And then there's another part where we're doing meal prep, and it's just for you to understand, what does it look like to bulk cook? And like, people are like, what do you mean? And I'm like, you could cook a whole thing of like ground turkey or ground beef, and now you have it for pasta. You can make a bowl, you can make tacos. How can you utilize your time a little bit more effectively, especially if you have kids, especially if you're going to work? And so giving them strategies, right, for time management. And so that's my group coaching and online community. And then I also do one-on-one coaching. And then I do host retreats. So last year was my first overnight retreat, but I do some one-day retreats. And I do monthly women's circles in person here in Pennsylvania.
I love that. You know, it really just comes down to, if you know that like you feel this almost like existential crisis of like, what is the fucking point of all of this? I think that's when you know that you have reached a point where you need support, because I think oftentimes we do find ourselves kind of going off of this checklist of life. Get the man, get the house, get the kids, get the career, get the car, get the Louis bag, all that shit. And then you're still empty. I've had that epiphany, you know, and that's kind of what set me on my financial independence journey. And I have talked to so many women who, for one reason or another, have had to come to that crossroads and realization that, like, I feel like I'm living somebody else's fucking life right now. And there's 2 options. You either keep doing that shit and you wake up one day and you're 70 years old and you're like, holy fuck, I regret my entire life. Or you take that as a sign that some shit needs to change and you find yourself a coach who can actually help you get there. So, Jexsaida, I love what you do. I know people are going to want to find out more about you and your services. Tell us where we can find you on social media.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok, Jexsaida. That is my handle. And hopefully very soon in the near future on YouTube.
Amazing. Oh my God. Hell yeah, girl. Hell yeah. We need the podcast. Okay. I love that. We're going to make sure to link all of your resources in the episode show notes. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you for giving us permission to just not just do, but we can actually just be. Like, we can be whole ass humans. We can be whole ass women. And we don't need to be limiting ourselves to identities like mother, wife, daughter, whatever. You can just be fucking human. And whatever that means to you, you can create that reality.
1000%. Yes. Thank you. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much.